Okay. So I'm recording this call. So if anyone wants to switch off your camera, you're welcome to do that now. Okay. So before going into today's topic, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Raj Mohammed Hanif, an IT solution architect living in Milton Keynes. I also would like to briefly talk about UKTM, introduce to the audience. UKTM, UK Tamil Muslims, is a social group mainly for the Tamil speaking Muslims who have links to hometown in India. It is not mandatory you have to speak Tamil. Yeah. Well, what does this group do? The objective of this group is to unite people, inspire, and empower them. It's a voluntary organization. We have a fantastic group of people who sacrifice their time towards this noble effort. UKTM currently has over 300 members, out of which around 100 members have recognized the efforts and have subscribed. I'm hoping the rest of the members will also subscribe soon. Any questions on this, please reach out to me or any committee members. UKTM organizes an annual social meet. Last 2 years, it has been a great success. So this gives an opportunity for our families and friends to get together and enjoy the day and also have a useful day where we have run various programs. Well, watch this space because we plan to have this year's event in Camborne near Cambridge on July the 15th. More details to follow. Let me give a little bit more of UKTM chapters. We have 4 chapters. One is the medical chapter. We have a group of doctors who do health checks and private consultation during events, conduct webinars on medical subjects now and then throughout the year. Second chapter is marriage and alliance, where prospective bride and bridegroom details are gathered and shared by our website, useful for the Tamil community. Third chapter is children empowerment, activities like mood board competition, Quran recitation competition. We do that every year, and inshallah, we plan to do that for this Ramadan. Again, the registration is going to open shortly. Finally, the career and education chapter, from providing guidance for college selection for students and webinars with career progression, etc. So today's webinar is part of that effort. Brother Rafeeq needs no introduction in our group. He is very active in jobs and recruitment area where he constantly shares tips and tricks for the benefit of the community. And today he's offered to give more insight on CV writing, which is very, very important. At some point of time, we all do this, and most of us are not native English speakers, so it is important we follow certain guidelines to increase our scope of getting interviews. So Brother Rafeeq has offered to share his knowledge today. So I welcome and thank Brother Mohammed Rafeeq. I'd like you to introduce yourself, and then there will be some question and answers at the end. Yeah, so hold on your questions, or you can chat, put your question in the chat. I'll consolidate and try and use the time effectively. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Rafeeq, over to you.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My name is Rafeeq. I'm from Chennai, now settled in Manchester. I'm a software engineer by profession. That's my core thing. And I'm also a founder of a job portal called jobsarmind.com. And I'm also a recruiter. I do recruit for few roles. One thing that I found that most people they do have talents, but they don't express it properly on their CV. Because of that, they are not as successful as the rest of the candidates. in securing an interview. So writing a good CV will not get you a job. It will get you an interview opportunity. There you can show your potential skills, and then you can get the job. Okay. So first step in the entire process is CV writing. Every one of us at some point of our life will be looking for a job. Okay. And at that time, we need to know we need to learn the process so that we can be as effective as anybody else. Because if we don't know the process, we will struggle at some point of time. So let's get into the topic. So by end of the speech, what we are going to learn is we'll learn why a CV is important. Okay, it's not just a piece of paper, it is your marketing material. That is a piece of paper you market your skills and experience to get the job you need. And then there are so many ways of writing a CV, so many ways of expressing yourself on a CV. Okay, and we can see how we can sentence a few routine roles and responsibilities, how they are more effective if you word it appropriately. And I'm going to cover some few aspects that are very relevant to the UK market. We have few things that are applicable to the European market, and outside, say US market, are not applicable to UK. I'm going to talk about that in the end. And I will also point out few obvious mistakes that people make, because of which they lose the opportunity to secure an interview. And
Brother
last,
Rafeeq, just a minute. I just want to check with any one of the participants. Are you seeing flickering screen or is it a stable screen? Any one of you, please volunteer.
I can see the screen is flickering as well.
Okay. So,
Hanif, do you want to share from your?
now what I suggest is, are you in a SharePoint slide presentation mode, or you just sharing?
I was in the presentation mode. How about now?
Yeah, this is fine. Just please have this way.
Okay, I'll continue in this mode only.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that.
That's all right. So I will talk about few obvious mistakes which we overlook every time. So which we don't, which we fail to review it by somebody neutral, and they are quite costly. Some mistakes are simple, some are quite costly that we should avoid. And lastly, the most important of all the slides now is I'm going to talk about some tools that are going to help you in writing a good CV. And it's so easy to write a good CV today than in the past, because we have so many professional tools. You just need to go and use those tools to make your life easy. So I'm also going to give you a demo of some artificial AI tools that are some tools that are being built on top of artificial intelligence. Okay, before we get into the topic, can any one of you say, for an average job, how many applicants send this application, CVs or resume to? Can you type on the chat box, please? Just give a hypothetical number that you can think of. Any normal job, be it IT, non-IT, medical industries, engineering. Just imagine something and then write a number, please. Just type it in the chat box, please. Okay. Okay, let's go. Let's see that these numbers are from real studies by market leading research groups like Gartner. Okay, they have been published in the users. The statistics are for the US market, but the numbers are similar in any geography. For one job, there are 50 minimum 50 applications that 50 candidates apply for the job. Among those 50 candidates, only 4 people get the opportunity to be interviewed. Okay, and out of four candidates, only 1 gets the job. So out of 50, only 4 get the opportunity, and then 46 of them do not get the opportunity to go to the interview. Why is that? Okay, that is what we're going to look into today. And for a CV, right, some statistics suggest the numbers can vary a little bit. Okay, an average recruiter looks at your CV for less than 30. 30 is a high number. 10 to 15 is an average, for which he scans through the CV first. And if you don't get his attention in that first scan, there is less chance that he will go into it. He will spend more time to find out whether you got what it needs to be. So you need to present your information appropriately worded, and you have to present it in an appealing manner as well. Okay, because first, when you get his attention, Then he will go into line, is going to read line by line and evaluate whether it suits the requirement. And be aware that whatever you do online, you are creating a fingerprint, fine. And for in UK, for example, for DV clearance, they will check your the clear up as part of the process. They will check your social media accounts, your activity, what you do. So be careful of what you support, what you like, or what you post, what you repost, because everything will be checked. And in some most cases, if you are presenting some unprofessional comments there's a chance that you will get rejected on the CV screening level itself. Okay, and 76% of the CVs, I'm not joking you, I'm telling you this based on statistics and personal experience. 76% of the people do not use a professional email ID. Professional email, what is a professional email ID? It could be first name, it could be of the format, first name but last name, or first character of first name like camel casing, and then surname at any provider like Gmail, Yahoo. There are so many providers. If what you need is not available, just go for another provider. Okay, don't use unprofessional emails like I need a job now at gmail.com, fan of xyz at gmail.com. It doesn't look that professional. Okay, the first impression, it has to be impactful, and these little things, okay, they add up, fine. And when the recruiter finds spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes on your CV, there is a high chance that you are going to be rejected, fine. And 68%, that's a whopping close to 70% of the resume, they don't write what they have achieved. Most of them do have accomplishments, but they don't write it on the CV. They just missed out. They think that a recruiter will know. Don't make assumptions, write it obviously, explicitly. Okay, recruiters, they say there are a few reasons why the CVs get rejected, okay? And some major reasons are 84% of the applications, okay? 84, that's a very high number. 84% of the applications, they are not addressed to the recruiter. Okay, most of the job boards, the recruiter name will be displayed, okay? Use that name and address to the name. 99% of the cases, the hiring manager's name or recruiter's name will be mentioned. Use his name and then use appropriate title, Mr., Mrs., Miss, Doctor, whatever is displayed in the job board, use the title. So 84%, it doesn't create an impact. It's better to call by hi Muhammad than calling someone hi recruiter. Okay, it leads to a level of personalization. And after interview, people don't follow up, they don't write thank you note. That's again 57% and 37% for not following up. And resume, 50% of the CVs are very generic, very generic, like one size fit all. It doesn't work. They need to be customized for each role that they are applying for. What does the customization mean? I will cover that in the next few slides. Okay, so we can't be having a generic CV and applying to every role. So these are some reasons why CVs get rejected and you will never hear from the recruiters. In my first statistic, I told 50 applications that 50 applications come for one role. So in that case, recruiter does not have the time and patience, and he doesn't see it worthy to reply to each of your application, though some do have an auto rejection. Okay, auto rejection, even that is better than not hearing anything, because if you have done the homework well, he feels like, okay, let's tell him why he was not shortlisted. He'll give a personalized reason, which you can work upon and improve in the next iteration. Okay, what do recruiters want from your CV? They want to see your job experience, whether you have a relevant experience, and they also look at the cultural fit. What does cultural fit mean? Whether you are a team player, or whether you have done leadership roles, whether you have done things on your own. If some role wants you to be an independent player rather than being held by a team, playing various roles. In some roles you might have to wear multiple hats to do a job. Okay, have you done that in the past? So 60% of the cases recruiters search for that. Cover letter, the statistics has gone down now because this is slightly a year and a half year old statistics. Relevance of cover letters has gone down in most cases, but for permanent roles, if you apply, 20% plus cases, they expect a cover letter to explain your situation and why you are a good fit for the role. And definitely educational institution, if you have from a reputed education institution, it does matter. And if you don't mention, then you're losing out on some impact that you can possibly create. And if you have good grades, do write it. And these grades, they matter at entry level to mid-level roles, but at senior level, the grades do not matter. Okay, and in addition, what the recruiters expect from you is they want you to have customized your CV to the role you are applying for. You can't apply a generic CV, and if you have skills that are asked for in the job description, mention that on your CV and mention in what context you have used that skill and what have you achieved, what problem did you solve, how did you solve it, and what was the outcome. You have to write in that manner. Problem, it is called PAS theme, PAS, okay, problem, and then how you solved it and what was the outcome. And they also look for 60% of the cases, they look, if it is for an IT role, for example, they will look for your GitHub account. Have you participated and published any open source projects? You do not have to do it on your own. At least if you have fixed a bug in an open source project, that becomes very, very effective if you mention that on your CV. So when you mention your links to your blog, for example, it shows that you have authority over a subject, okay? And it may not be just an open source project. It could be a blog article. You have so many open source blog articles like medium.com, even linkedin.com. Okay, it doesn't cost any money to write about something. Show your authority over a subject. Write something telling, I feel this is on this topic, we can do it this way. Okay, 16% of the time the recruiters expect that. Okay, what is a CV? CV, see, when you go and buy some product from a shop, you first look at the manual. Okay, if the manual is not properly written, if it is not appealing, if it's got spelling mistakes, and if it doesn't say how worthy the product is, we will not buy it. For example, if you go to any online portal to buy a product, you go and read the reviews first, right? And you look at the specification telling how much energy it is consuming, and what is the peak load it can withstand, things like this. Okay, so CV is your manual to market your skill to get the job you want. Okay, don't copy paste the CV from somebody else. Think, you can just refer to get some inspiration, but think fresh, and then sit and write it from scratch. There are various tools that I'll cover in the end. Okay, so CV is a manual, is a selling point. That is where, so recruiter does not know you, he has not seen any of the candidates, all he sees is your CV, and shortlisting is based only on your CV. Everybody, most of the people have the skills and education, but they don't project it enough. Okay, if you don't do that, you are losing out on opportunities. Okay, before we go further, do any of us know what is a resume and what is a CV? And there is a difference to it. Do we know? Just type yes or no on the chat box, please. That should be sufficient. We heard this term intervariably in most places. Some recruiters say send your resume, some say send your CV. So is there a difference? And what is it? Just type yes or no, that's fine. There is no good or bad answers. Okay, good. Well, most of the people are knowing that. That's fine. That's good to know. See, CV is a French term. Resume is a French term that means summary. Okay, CV, curriculum vitae, it is a Latin term that means course of life. That is what all you have done, what all you have achieved, what all you have learned. So in short, the difference is CV is longer and more detailed, and resume is short and it's a summary of relevant experiences you have for that role. You don't have to list every experience and every skill on a resume. So whatever is needed for the job. Okay, for example, many people change careers. They go into defense, they go and be a civil servant, they go into teaching, and then they come into IT. They keep changing the career. That is perfectly acceptable. When you apply for a job, on a resume, write the relevant things. For an IT job, if you have done any skills around certifications around IT, include that. On a CV, it is more detailed. Okay, there are some five things that you need to keep in mind while writing a CV. Okay, it has to be clear. Okay, it has to be well organized, visually appealing, and it has to be logical. It has to follow a structure. Okay, headings, subheadings, bullet points wherever needed, making things bold. Okay, and italicizing things if needed. wherever applicable. So it has to be clear. And if a CV is not clear, then the recruiter will think that, okay, he doesn't have a clear mindset and he is not going to do the job in a better manner. So it has to have relevant information and necessary information. When I say relevant and necessary, if you are applying for an IT job, in most of my examples, I'll be referring to the IT industry, but you can relate it to any other industry and then write accordingly. If you are applying for a front-end role, write the skills and highlight the skills that you have done in front-end technologies. Okay, if you are applying for a back-end role, this works differently for a contracting role and a permanent role, but let's take the use case of a generic situation. You need to highlight the relevant skills. Okay, and whatever is necessary, include it. Whatever is not necessary, do not include it. I will give some examples down the line. And it has to have the complete information that you need to include. For example, the recruiter will look at your last role and the one role behind. Okay, last two roles you look into detail, and the previous role, say if you have done something 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, they don't go into too much detail. Last two roles write in detail. The previous ones you just write short, like one liner or two liner or what you have done. And you visually it has to be consistent. So don't use mix of fonts. Use the very common fonts that will be displayed rendered in all machines. If some candidates use some fonts that are very uncommon, and when we open it says missing fonts. So the whatever you visually presented, it doesn't appear the same on the recruiter's machine. And sending a PDF version of the CV helps because the consistency is maintained no matter which operating system it is opened on. And keep it up to date. Don't miss out something. The biggest mistake a candidate does is not spending time to update his CV before applying for a role. And when they are in a situation where they have to apply for a job, they panic. They take a very old version of the CV, like add some 2-3 lines of it, and then they just send it, and it makes no impact, and they lose out on opportunities. First impressions count because less than 30 seconds is what the recruiter spends on a CV first scan. And during the first scan, if you make an impact, then he will look into each line. He will read it line by line. In the UK, they read CVs and resumes line by line. Do not write only things you are skilled at. Do not say you know something before without knowing the skill, without having experience in that skill. So recruiters look for if you are qualified for the, do you have the necessary. They do a few tick box checks, check some tick boxes. Do you have the necessary qualification? If some job requires a graduation, do you have that graduation, degree or diploma? That is first thing they check. Do you have the commercial experience? In case of experienced candidates, do you have the relevant experience? So for a Java role, you can't apply with a .NET CV, and likewise for a .NET role, you can't apply with your Java role. So do you have the relevant commercial experience? Are you passionate and enthusiastic? The way you word your CV displays that whether you're a passionate developer or not. Okay, these three things they look, and they look for few more check boxes that they have to check by law. They have to check whether you are authorized to work in the country or not. So do mention your work authorization, whether you are a citizen or you are on a visa, till when it is valid from, till when it is valid unto. And in some cases, the candidates write they hold say type 2 visa. Okay, it still is not complete because in most cases, whether you are a primary tier 2 applicant or you are a dependent on primary tier 2 visa holder, it matters. Because primary tier 2 visa holders, they have some restrictions on their work authorization. They can work for one employer only. But as of today's laws, the tier 2 dependent, they have more freedom. Okay, they can do more type of jobs like contracting, freelancing, etc., which a primary visa holder cannot. So mentioning clearly why your work authorization matters. So if you do present things in a concise manner, recruiters love such CVs because you have provided that everything that he needs to shortlist you, and it is quicker. Otherwise, what happens is he has to call you to find out whether you have work authorization or not. And in most cases, if he gets a better CV, he will go and pursue that CV, and you will be in the backlog. You'll be down the queue. Okay, there is a chance that you will miss out. And visual appearance, first impressions matter. And one important thing I want to highlight is when I mentioned about the email address is use a proper file name. It matters. Okay. Don't send CVs by naming new CV.doc, old underscore new dot doc, CV.doc. It does means nothing to me. For a recruiter, looking at your file name, I need to know who you are. So include your name. What is the background? For example, Rafeeq underscore Java developer.doc. Just looking at the file name, I know your profile, and I will store your CV in compliance with the GDPR requirements. I'll store your CV in the relevant folder. So make it easy for a recruiter to shortlist you, in short. Okay, don't make it hard. Don't give him more work to find out about you, and then it puts him off, and if he finds a better CV, you lose out. So you need to do everything to maximize your chance to impress the recruiter and get the interview opportunity. Once you get the interview opportunity, then you can show your worth. You can show you can prove many people are good in talking, and but to get that opportunity, you need to write a good CV. Okay, use a standard font size. Don't use a very uncommon font. Be consistent in your layout. In the reason to rows, use bullet points wherever applicable. And if you have more content to write, use a paragraph rather than a bullet point. And the size, try to keep it to 2 pages if possible, but this is a very subjective topic. In many cases, this page rule does not apply. For example, more experienced candidates, it can go up to 2, 3 or 4 pages. And for some academic CVs, people who are in the teaching field, who are in the research, they have more content to write. They have done more prepared presentations. They have done a review of books. So they have a lot references to write than a normal, say, medical industry job or an engineering job or a marketing job. Okay. Proofread your CV. Basic proofreads comes with your MS Word or any soft equivalent of the MS Word in the open source world. Do a proofread, do a grammar check there, and even that many candidates don't do that, and they lose out on opportunities. And just ask someone neutral, someone in your family or friends, to read it and see if everything is fine. I do that even today, and when I find and the review have helped, and they have spotted things that I have missed. Okay, do a peer review, and instead of just mere job duties, okay, design, develop, tested, design, develop, tested, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. It's so boring to read. Okay, 10 years, some people use the same block. There's nothing new. Have they not done anything new? So it doesn't mean they are 10 years of experience. It is the same 2 years repeated 5 times. So it is not appealing. It is not impactful. Use specific results and impact you created. For example, if you see the slide, instead of just saying managed a team, that's boring. Say managed a team of 12 members. Okay, that gives the reader an idea of the size of the team he managed. And increase productivity by 20%. Use metrics wherever possible. Use metrics. Just manage a team is boring. Manage a team of 12 members and increase productivity by 20%, which was verified by a internal quality audit. So here you say, I did this and I achieved this, and you're verifying the claim, telling it was verified via some process, internal process. So how impactful it is to read. You don't have to follow the same formula everywhere, but wherever applicable, use metrics, use metrics, use metrics. They create a lot of impact. So on the screen, you're seeing a typical CV. This CV has got this candidate shortlisted to FANG companies. FANG companies are Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, these type of companies. They have been shortlisted, and this is a publicly available information. So no GDPR has been compromised. It is publicly available, and we are authorized to use these as an example. So write your name, fine. Write your full name as in your ID proof, for example, passport or driving license, whatever it is. Write your full name. Why I'm insist on writing the full name is, see, they catalog and index your CVs based on your name. Okay, one of the parameters. And if you don't write the name, there is a chance that your earlier version of the CV will get mixed up with the newer version. And finally, even if you are successful, everything is done based on the record that goes into their application tracking system. And if that is wrong, a lot of documents will go wrong, and you have to spend a lot of time to correct them. So write full name as in the passport document, give one email address as contact, and one phone number which you are reachable. I find candidates giving 2, 3 email addresses. Give one email address and which does not expire, and do keep checking the emails. Give one phone number, and maybe if you have signal issues, give up to 2 phone numbers, one link. All this is needed when recruiter wants to contact you, okay, and email you. And do respond to the emails. Please do respond to the phone numbers. 50% of the cases, the candidates never bother to answer the calls, or they don't return the email, reply to the emails. It doesn't give a good impression on them. And when I say 50 applicants apply, so whoever replies, they go with them. Fine. And give a link to your GitHub. In the case of software engineers, give a link to your GitHub account, and it lets you, it helps you stand out from the rest of the candidates. You have done extra to outside your work, to in the relevant field. You have put some extra effort to create something worthful that is open source. Okay, if you have done that, and print the whole URL. Okay, don't just give a link to that, because if you just give a link when it is printed, the URL does not get printed. Just something called GitHub will get printed, or linkedin.com will get printed. Only in a soft copy he can click and go through the target link. So print the entire whole URL. Okay, and start with a career summary, or objectives are not relevant to the UK market. Rather than that, you can give a professional summary. Okay, versatile computer. We can go line by line and we can talk on this topic for hours, but I'll just cut short and cover the main points. Versatile computer science student with a strong foundation in math, logic, and coding. Excellent track record of soft skills, including leadership, collaboration, and communication. Here, don't just use buzzwords. Okay, wherever buzzwords like hard worker, okay, they mean nothing. Give examples. Where have you worked out and what have you achieved? What did it lead to? Then it becomes a creditable claim rather than just a buzzword. Okay, and write where you have studied, and for IT roles, write your languages or skills, IT skills you have, and also include your version. For example, Java 17 is anything above Java 8 is totally different. Pre-Java 8 is totally different. So the version matters. Okay, in some cases, clients are very specific, telling you need to know Java 17 or above. So if that is the case, include the version number, and including them helps them shortlist you in a better manner. Fine, and write your experience in a reverse order. And even in education, write your education in reverse order. The most recent one on the top, and in that chronological order, write it. And then include the month and year you graduated out. And you don't need to include the dates, just month and year is fine. Which university and what are the modules you have studied, just include it just briefly. And when you have graduated out from a foreign university, which most of us are, include the state and country as well. For example, XYZ University, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, or Tamil Nadu, India. Otherwise, the reader will not know where is this university. And if he feels it is a foreign university, you should make it easy for him to go and check what university and what is the reputation of the university. Okay, and experience, I'll write it in the reverse order. And name of the employer, what was the title that you worked on, and the location. Okay, whether it was on-site or remote or hybrid, etc. You can mention it. For example, it could be London, UK, month, year, what from what date till what date you work there. Don't need to include the date, just month and year is fine. Okay, just go. If you see here, created full stack implementation, reinforcement learning, machine learning algorithms to auto heal systems, errors in Python utilizing Django, REST API frameworks, and Cassandra. And if you see this this line that I have highlighted, led cross-functional teams combining business and technical side that successfully collected 3,200 plus observations with 85% conclusive results tailored to our users. He has used a metric to create an impact on the reader. Use metrics wherever possible. Okay. And second point, write all your experiences wherever available. Reason you need to include more. The older ones you can write briefly. And if you have done any personal projects, write about what you have done and write about your awards. Okay, if you have worked on awards, if even it could be sports or athletics or whatever it is, just write it and conclude with your work authorization. It could be anywhere. It could be on the top as well. See this in this example, if he's a US citizen, so a box is ticked automatically telling that this candidate is authorized to work in the country. And briefly, if you want to write available when you are available, you can write, but it's not mandatory. So this example, it's consistent. It has everything the recruiter is looking for. Okay, it becomes easier to shortlist it. And if possible, use the skills you have used in every role. Okay, if it becomes too big, last two roles only write the skill that you have used, because when you say you know the skill, they also look at when you have used it. If you have used a skill 10 years back, it is less relevant. If you have used the skill recently, it is more relevant. There's a better chance that you have most recruiters look for that where you have used. So just after the experience, just add one line telling what skills you have used. So what should be on your CV? Write your full name, mailing address, email address. And when you write your address, you don't have to write the entire address. You can just say Reading, UK. That's fine. City or town name is enough. You don't have to give the full address. You can provide the address for some verifications down the line. Just write Reading, UK or Slough, UK, whatever is applicable, Birmingham, UK, Manchester, UK. That's enough. Right, include all your education, don't miss out on anything, and write from graduation upwards. Okay, don't need to write what we have done before graduation. But for entry level people, your GCSEs, etc., okay, they do matter. How many A levels you have achieved, that matters in the UK market. But if you have done anything prior to graduation outside the UK, you don't need to include it. And some people write HSC. Nobody in UK understands what is HSC. They write SSLC. Nobody in UK understands what is SSLC. Either if you write it, avoid the acronyms and expand it fully. Okay, they just write BE. BE, nobody understands what is BE, right? Bachelor of Engineering. Okay, Bachelor of Engineering or Bachelor of Science, Masters in Computer Science. Use the full expanded degree name rather than acronyms, because less people understand it in UK. Write about your professional experience, the most recent on the top, in the reverse order. And if you have done any publications, you need not be in a scientific journal. It could be in a blog, medium.com, or you have published some article on LinkedIn. Include that, telling this is the link I'm passionate about writing this. Do include that. And your extracurricular, that is your volunteer experience, right? This does matter. The market in the UK appreciates that you care about the community or society, and you want to contribute in some way for the betterment. Okay, write about your volunteer experience. This becomes really important for people at entry level, where they don't have much to write about. So when they cover these areas, you go on up, you are on top of the pile of CVs that the recruiter receives. If you have any affiliations, if you are a member of a professional body, okay, if applicable, just include it as well. And if you have participated in any research, okay, any clinical study, etc., write about it. And if you have additional qualifications, for example, you have a language competency, okay, if you know German, if you know French, if you know a foreign language which is European and could be relevant, write about it, telling what is the competency level. So just don't write, I know German. There are various levels for the language. So to what level do you understand that? And write about that. In some roles, you need to interact with the German customer, or you need to interact with the French customer. So having those language skills is very valuable, and mentioning it helps you get shortlisted for the interview. Education section, write the most relevant ones on the top, that is more recent ones, and write just when you passed out, and don't say I've spent 4 years or 5 years if you have spent more time. And if you have done any thesis or dissertation in your masters, do include that. Okay, a typical education section on a CV looks like this. You can either include month and year, or just the year is fine. Which year you, from which year till which year you studied, what university was that, what degree was that, and what modules were covered. In this example, contextual studies, creative investigations, project communication, and critique. When the recruiter looks at your CV, he looks for keywords. If it is a Java backend developer, there are some key skills that are needed for the backend developer job. If you have used it, do mention that. You need to have a fine balance of the keyword. Don't stuff keywords. They will easily find out. Okay. Use the right keyword. You need to use the right keyword, because in some cases, recruiters are not too skilled in shortlisting your CVs. They do Control F, search for the keyword. If it is not found, keep it aside. That's what happens practically. So education section should be like this. I will, in the end, I'll show one more example. If you have won any awards in your school, universities, do write about it, because you have put effort, prepared for something, and you have competed with people, and it shows that you're quite a competitive candidate. And if you have received any scholarships, they write, because scholarships are not awarded to everyone and each and every candidate who applies. They go through an evaluation process, a stringent evaluation process, and in some cases they are interviewed even, and then they are awarded the scholarships. So if you have received a scholarship, prestigious like Rhodes Scholarship or whatever it is, do mention that wherever applicable without lying, because sometimes they will want to verify that. Work experience, if you see on the screen, don't just, in this example that comes in the rectangular box, right? From month till year, till what date you are working, where, as what. As a shop assistant, I have learned the importance of providing great customer service to gain maximum sales. See, all he or she has done is just being a customer support associate. Okay. And in this statement, it implies that to gain maximum sales, that is, he has got the commercial acumen. He has got that commercial goal of the business in mind. So you did something great and it resulted in something. So you need to write the results as well. I'm responsible for organizing stock and ensuring that costs are controlled. Again, impactful. Okay, all he has done is arrange the stock, right? But when you arrange the stock, you think about not wasting the stock, damages, etc. You are thinking about it, and costs are controlled. So you have a business acumen to bring down the costs as well. Carrying out weekly risk assessment rather than just writing carrying out risk assessments. That is very boring to read. Carried out weekly, that is, it is regular. Okay, it is not a one-off. Weekly risk assessment has increased my self-awareness of health and safety. So what has she learned in the job? You can write about it as well. Okay, let's go and we'll see more examples. Do wherever you have done voluntary roles, do mention that, write about it, don't miss out. And if you have part of some science society, for example, history club, etc., if you are a leader, for particularly at an entry level, this section is quite important, because they don't have much to write about, much experience to write about. If you are part of some captain of a cricket team, do write it, because it shows that you can lead a team, you can perform under pressure, and then you can set goals for each team member, and then you got a result and you finally won the trophy. Okay, it shows that you have the leadership skill. Fine. So it is not, you don't just brush it aside telling, okay, it's not relevant. They look for soft skills as well. Okay, apart from your technical skills, the recruiter looks for your softer side, your personality, bring out the personality in you. Okay, if you are part of some organizations, do write about it. If you have published something, if you have attended some conferences, gone and spoken in front of people, write about it, because it matters a lot. Okay, and you have public speaking skills, etc. So that is evident from these sections. And if you have any language fluency, in some jobs it is required, and in some jobs where it is in logistic industry, mentioning that you have the driving license does matter, because that is needed for the job. So depending upon the type of jobs you are applying for, decide for yourself what you need to add or what you shouldn't need to add. And in this example, right, so this has been published by University of Kent. It is verified results. Any verb, any verb related to this, if you include in the right context, there is a good chances of you being shortlisted for the role. For example, leading abilities, decision-making abilities, where you have managed a time. So you achieved the deployment in 1 hour, which was in line with the SLA, service level agreement. So if you write something, that means that you did something, but you achieve what was expected out of you, and it led to the SLAs being upkept. So any verb related to this, if you include on your CV, it can lead to better chances of getting shortlisted. And any skills written outside this inner circle, right? Even then, if you have done that, if you have it, do include that. There are more verbs which I will circulate later. The right context, do include them. And there are few things you don't need to do if you have to avoid on your CV. Okay, don't do things in a rush. That is the biggest mistake anybody does. Take time, give the importance it deserves. Sit, take time, get it reviewed once, twice. And if in some cases, if you want, hire a professional CV writer. The money you spend by spending on CV writers, it is worth it, because you will get returns by getting the opportunity you want. Do if you have gaps, okay, so that is why the dates are important. If you have gaps for some reasons, if you have taken a break, that's fine. Just in a diplomatic manner, convey why you take a break. For family reasons, for personal reasons, I took a break. That's it. Don't need to go into too much details. Briefly mentioning that is enough, because that says that you have not skipped and you're not trying to hide anything. And if there are gaps, people start thinking, oh, why has the gap? What was he doing? Okay, was he done a crime or and gone spend some time somewhere? These type of doubts come up. Don't give an opportunity. Don't lie. Never lie on your CV. If they find a lie, it's easy to find a lie even in an interview, and even during reference checks, it's easy to find out a lie. Don't do that. Personal details, I'll come to that later. And don't use flashy or large fonts. I find some candidates using very flashy fonts, like like the soft copy, they look fine, but when it gets printed, or finally it gets printed in a black and white, okay, to conserve expenses, every business uses black and white printer. If you don't use, I advise people to stick to black and white, stick to the basics, use black and white only, so that it gets printed in black and white and it creates a visual impact as you have desired. Otherwise, red will get printed as a very dark, and whatever is written on top of the dark background, nothing can be visually seen. Okay, stick to the basics, use black and white only. And there are some mistakes that you can avoid. There are various. I will not go through each of them. I'll just cover the major ones. The major ones are in red, amber, and then yellow in the end. Not tailoring CV for the role you have applied is a major mistake. Not giving enough information on the most recent role. You might have written things in detail in the past, but people who do the CV in the rush, they just add few lines in the recent role, because the last and the previous role is what they will look at in detail. Wrong sequencing of roles. Some write the oldest role first, and recruiter has to scroll down to see, and then he has to tie down the dates to correlate it. Don't do that. Long gaps. And if you have gaps, try to explain. If not, up to 3 months is fine, and beyond that, just try to write a one word telling for family reasons, took a break from career, or you in traveling, etc. Grammar mistakes, strictly unacceptable. Spelling mistakes, strictly unacceptable. Okay, it really puts off the user. Using false information or making tall claims. Don't have a balance in projecting your skills. Don't say I can do this, I can do that, without, when you have half done it. Be honest and project it rightly. Okay, reason 7. If the guy has used a CV template, his file name says CV template.pdf. I've seen cases. Okay, don't do that. Make the effort to rename the file name. It really puts off a recruiter. The rest of the reasons are self-explanatory. I'll share the slides. You can go through it, and then you can look at the reason. This is an example of a simple CV. It can be of any format. The format doesn't matter. What you write on that is matters. He has given a contact details on the top. use his name, and he has given his professional summary, and he has given his key skills, and then he has written his key achievements. So in a career, you will have achieved in every role. Okay, so wherever applicable, achieve that. It creates a lot of impact if you highlight it first. Okay, rather than making him read every line and hiding the achievement somewhere inside the roles you have written. Experience in the reverse chronological order, education in the reverse order, any professional qualifications, any certifications if you have done, do not miss it. And when you write about certifications, write from which body it was certified. For example, Oracle Corporation, or it could be from any say Microsoft. Write what certification was it, from whom it was obtained, and when you obtained that. And the lastly, write some interest about it, like write your hobbies or any voluntary activities that you have done, because it does matter. It does, you score some extra points, impact, you make extra point by including that. Okay, let's talk about the UK market now. Whatever I have spoken now is quite generic, applicable to any market. Yeah, I'm close to finishing, so I'll not take much time. In avoid using too much personal details. Whether one is married or not, it doesn't really matter. Whether someone single, whether what is his date of birth, these are very, very, very personal details you should never give on a CV in the UK market. In some Middle Eastern market, GCC countries, they want some passport number, etc., expiry, etc. You don't need to include that. Don't never. And if you are including that, you are giving an opportunity for the reader to discriminate you. Okay, so don't do that. Do not include a photo unless it is needed. If you're applying for a software engineer, it doesn't matter how we look. All we need is what skills we have, what experience we have. Okay, if you are applying for an industry in a creative, for example, if you want to be a newsreader, or if you want to be in a front office way, it may be required, though in most cases it is awarded to avoid discrimination. If required, it will be mentioned in the job description. Otherwise, don't include the photo. Use keywords from the job description. That this is where you need to customize. Okay, use the keywords from the job description and highlight the relevant skills. Use bold, underscore, etc. Use matrix, and most important, use the British grammar. Okay, and you go to your word settings, change it to British grammar, not the English. By default, it will be US grammar. The language varies a little bit. For example, I have been organization, yes is used. In US, Z is used. So use the British, change the settings to British English, and then do the spell check, and use appropriate size. In UK, A4 size is used as a standard. So your formatting should align with A4 size paper. Okay, keep CV to the appropriate length. I have seen a CV yesterday which is 16 pages long. And reading that was not very impactful. Using 2 pages, I have shown one example. You can get shortlisted in the FANG companies. Well, when you can do that, why use 16 pages? So when they have not done a good homework, and they have not done the homework to tailor it to the UK market. Use professional summary, not objective. Objective is everybody knows you're applying for the job and you want the job. Okay, that is your objective. And mentioning that I want an software engineer role in UK, it is not useful. In UK, use professional summary rather than the objective. I'll show an example in the next slide. And consider adding your interests or hobbies like book reading, traveling, etc. Be more specific rather than just telling reading. Reading what? Technical books, or fiction, non-fiction, or history, philosophy. Be more specific. It helps bring out your personality. First statement here is a professional summary, and the second one is objective. And you can give more, you can write the professional summary in a more impactful manner. Highly analytical, resourceful, and result-driven head of finance. This is an example with extensive experience. This is an example of your professional summary. The second one is objective. Everyone knows what your role you are applying for. And no need to just reiterate the same thing. Rather than give a professional summary, and it's called as elevator pitch. Okay, elevator pitch is say 15 seconds or 30 seconds. You have to tell about yourself. So if you want to concise your experience, that is in the professional summary. Okay, the most important, this is my last slide. I'm done now. I would recommend use these tools. As I said before, writing a CV is a lot easy today than in the past. In Resume Worded, this platform, just go upload your CV and paste your job description, and it will match. It will try to match. Due to lack of time, I'm not able to go into the demo of that same. But this slide will be circulated. Go through it. Go there. It will issue a score telling 50, 60, 70. The more higher the score, that means you are more tuned. Your CV is more tuned towards the requirement and better chances of getting recruited. So in many cases where you have volume of applications received, the recruiters will shovel your CVs into something called ATS, application tracking system. It is an automatic way of looking for keywords and looking for keyword density, etc., looking for pattern, and then issue a score for your CV. And then the top few, say 10 CVs, will be taken for review. The people who are down the pile, there is less chance that they will get reviewed. Okay, maximize your chances. And you can also test your LinkedIn profile on resumeworded.com. Just give the link of your LinkedIn, and it will give you a score telling how optimized it is. There are a few things that need to be there on your LinkedIn profile, and if it is not there, it will give a different score. So resumeboarded.com is one very good platform, and the last one is jobscan.co. It does the same, but the algorithm they use is slightly different. You can use either of them. Grammarly, there is a Chrome plugin as well for this. Beyond the basic grammar check of MS Word or any tool you use, any editor you use, right? Grammarly goes one level ahead. Okay, some prepositions you might have missed. For example, work in UK, you might write work in the UK is correct. Okay, for a non-native speaker, these minor things we may skip, but these tools help you flag it. Even a perfectly grammar checked resume will be flagged for many mistakes from Grammarly. There are paid accounts and there are free accounts as well. Use the free account. It will help. It will help. Again, it definitely helps. And then Grammarly helps you. And if you want use the paid one or free one, both are useful. Let's go to the last and the hero of all the tools, OpenAI. So this is a tool based on artificial intelligence. This has been funded by Google, Microsoft, etc. All the leading tech companies. They have built a platform where you can chat with a bot. It's not a human. You can chat with it and it will answer you the question. I'll show you a demo now. Can you see my screen?
We can't. So we already crossed 1 hour. We have a few more questions.
Yeah, this is the last. I'll finish with just one demo.
Uh,
Can you see the screen now? Yeah, I think you can see.
Yeah, we can see.
You need to prompt the bot to give you a text. Just prompt the chat and it will give you an example. It will help you. You don't need to do anything. Just prompt it. The better you prompt, the better output it will give. Fine. Whatever it gives you, take it, make some changes, and include it in your professional summary. This is just an example. You can have ample number of examples, and this is why I claim writing a good CV is very easy nowadays. The reason I covered all the points is you need to know the basics before you go start using the tools. Otherwise, we will never learn the basics. Okay. And that's my end of my webinar. If you have any questions, I can help answer them. And I would like to thank UKTM for allowing this opportunity. There are various resources, the various CV tips that we share, and they are shared on the Facebook of UKTM. Go there and read through them, and there are other resources as well which you can utilize. People have any questions, they can ask now, please.
Okay, so we have some questions on the chat. Are you able to go through, or do you want me to read them through?
Let's see.
So maybe I will consolidate.
Please, please.
One is having different versions of CVs, like that can be, you said we can bespoke and customize and apply so that it is relevant for the job description. But we end up having multiple versions of CVs for different roles. And if there is two jobs in the same organization and you want to apply for both, you end up sending two different CVs. So how do we manage those situations?
Okay, see, have a base version of your CV, okay? And you can customize without lying. That's quite possible, and we need to do that. Okay, otherwise it doesn't create as a good of impact. So you can apply to two different roles within the same organization with a slightly different CV without lying. Okay, if you're not lying, it's perfectly acceptable, and you are customizing to the role that you are applying for. It is perfectly acceptable in the industry. Okay, you need to know the balance where you need to stop the customization. That way you can overcome that issue, and you need to maintain this. There's no better opportunity because it gives you results.
Okay, so there are some questions where you have touched upon already, so I won't repeat them. So another question from Farah Hanif is that how valuable is LinkedIn recommendations from colleagues? Do we
Definitely
need to point to them or send the LinkedIn link somewhere in the CV so they get to have some?
Yeah. See, on the top of your CV, where you write your name, contact details, and your GitHub account, wherever applicable, right? Include a LinkedIn profile as well. And most likely, most 90% plus of the cases, recruiters will click the link and go to look at your LinkedIn CV and see what you do on LinkedIn. Okay. Whether you're just mainly existing without any activity, or are you quite active, participating in discussions, and do you have any recommendations from your colleagues, and what is the credibility of the colleagues, whether he was your superior, anything, any recommendations from your peer developers, peer colleagues and superiors is more valuable. And if you have, for academic roles, if you have obtained from your academic professors or anything, they are very valuable.
Okay.
Don't keep your profile blank. Request for recommendations, and wherever applicable, they will word it appropriately, and people are generally helpful in job searches. They will give a recommendation.
Okay. Another question from Brother Mansoor is that how long does the agency keep the data? Is there a legal requirement how long they can keep? And
yes. Okay, for any recruitment agency, there is something called a privacy policy. They have to display this on their website. Okay, and this privacy policy mentions this, how long they keep their CV for. And with the GDPR rule, it is more stringent, and they have to comply, otherwise heavy fines are applicable. So in the privacy policy, they mention how long they keep the CV for. And if you feel like you are getting so many calls, unwanted calls, you can write to the agency telling, please remove me from the database.
okay.
He has a legal requirement to comply. Otherwise, he will be you can complain to the something called Information Commissioner Office, ICO it is called. You can complain telling this business is keeping my details without my consent, and they will take legal action on them.
Okay.
Privacy policy is what you need to look at.
Okay, thank you. And another question is that we earlier touched upon the difference between CV and resume. But when employees ask for CV/resume, which one should we choose?
Okay.
Or should we always use resume, or there's a confusion?
Okay, So in UK, you can use CV. Resume is used in the US market.
Okay.
Okay, you need to know the difference. That's why I mentioned that. But in UK, use a CV, which is perfectly acceptable. You in some specific roles, you can mention use CV. We keep it simple.
Okay.
UK.
I think those were the questions, and what we learned today is very invaluable. And thank you, Rafeeq Bhai, for sharing this. I have recorded this. I will try and find a way to upload it in our career and education section in UKTM website, and we do have a job portal as well to help with postings and other things. I'll also try and add it to YouTube and share the link. By the way, it was very, very, very useful. Thank you. And we look forward more from you, because I'm keen to learn on the LinkedIn side of things, how we can improve our job prospects through LinkedIn. And yeah, so please, everyone, watch out for this, for the next episode on this. Thank you very much. I'd like to conclude now, and since we have no time, I'm closing the session.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Bye.